Long before the sun reaches the deep Himalayan valleys, the low, resonant hum of a copper horn shakes the frost from the pine trees. It is a sound not meant for human ears, but to wake the sleeping mountains. The air at 4 in the morning in the high Himalayas bites at your cheeks, carrying the sharp, clean scent of crushed pine needles, damp earth, and distant snow. As we step over the high wooden threshold of the Dzong, a massive fortress monastery perched on a sheer cliffside, the darkness is thick, broken only by the flickering golden light of 100 butter lamps. We can hear them before we see them. A low, rhythmic chant vibrates through the heavy wooden floorboards, traveling up through the soles of your feet and straight into your chest. It is a collective rumble, deep and harmonic, suddenly punctuated by the sharp, metallic clash of brass cymbals. Young novices, wrapped tightly in heavy maroon woolen robes, hurry across the freezing stone courtyard, their bare feet making soft, urgent slaps against the ancient stone. They carry heavy brass pitchers of steaming butter tea, the vapor curling into the frigid air like breath. We are not just watching a morning ritual. We have stepped into a living, breathing rhythm that has pulsed through these mountains for centuries. We are inside a Bhutanese monastery at dawn. Welcome to Culture Journey. Today, we aren't just observing this world from the outside, we are stepping completely into it. Together, we are walking into the remote, mist-draped kingdom of Bhutan, a small nation locked between the crushing tectonic forces of India and Tibet. Here, geography is destiny. The Himalayas do not just shape the weather of this land, they shape the mind. In Bhutan, the spiritual and the physical are not separate worlds kept safely apart. A monastery, or lakhang, is not merely a place people visit once a week to pray. It is the beating heart of the community, a fortress of history, a living school, and a sanctuary. For the Bhutanese people, these spaces are the anchors of their daily existence, holding the memories of their ancestors and the quiet hopes for their next lives. To truly understand Bhutan, to grasp why this country measures its success by the well-being of its people, rather than pure economic output, you have to understand the silence, the discipline, and the profound devotion that begins every single day in the dark. Let us explore what it actually feels like to live within these walls. If you were standing here right now, leaning against the cool, hand-painted timber of the main prayer hall, what would you notice first? It might not be the towering golden statue of the Buddha, illuminated by the dancing flames, though it is magnificent. It would likely be the smell. It is a dense, earthy aroma, a heavy mixture of burning juniper branches, known locally as sang, and the rich scent of traditional butter lamps warming the air. It is a fragrance that instantly grounds you, wrapping around your senses like a heavy blanket against the mountain chill. The thin air at this altitude makes every breath feel earned, and the scent of the incense seems to carry the very essence of the forest inside. As your eyes adjust to the dim, golden light, the source of the chanting becomes clear. The monks sit in long, parallel rows on cushioned floor mats. Their texts, printed on loose, horizontal strips of handmade paper, rest on low, intricately carved wooden tables. They do not read the way we read a book. They turn the loose pages fluidly, their voices locking into a shared, unbroken cadence. Some of the men are elders, their faces mapped with deep lines carved by decades of high-altitude sun and winter wind. Their eyes are half closed, chanting entirely from a memory so deep it seems embedded in their bones. Others are just children, perhaps 7 or 8 years old. They struggle to keep their heavy eyelids open, occasionally leaning too far forward before being gently nudged by an older mentor. The humanity in this space is deeply touching. It is intensely sacred, yes, but it is also a home. You might see a young novice discreetly warming his small hands around a wooden cup of suja, the salty, rich Bhutanese butter tea, before lifting it to his lips. It is a small, quiet comfort in the freezing dawn, a reminder that underneath the uniform robes, these are human beings, managing the harshness of mountain life. We often look at ancient spaces like this and assume they were built by mere men stacking stones. But the Bhutanese understand their world differently. Did you know that the massive dzongs and monasteries scattered across these valleys were traditionally built without a single architectural blueprint and without a single iron nail? They were conceived in the minds of visionary lamas, guided by spiritual intuition rather than engineering math. The thick, inward-sloping walls were designed to withstand the violent earthquakes of the Himalayas, but they were also built to reflect the unshakable stability of the Dharma, the Buddhist teachings. Every painted beam, every carved lotus flower, every fierce dragon curling around a wooden pillar was placed with absolute intention. The building itself is a teacher. As the morning puja, or prayer ritual, deepens, the music shifts. This is not the gentle, soothing meditation music you might find in a wellness studio. It is overwhelming. The monks raise the jialing, double-reeded, oboe-like instruments, which pierce the air with a high, mournful wail. Then comes the deep, guttural blast of the dungchen, a massive copper horn that is so long its flared end must rest directly on the cold stone floor. It sounds like thunder rolling down a narrow valley. It is music designed to echo through the deepest canyons, to appease ancient mountain deities, and to cut cleanly through the illusion of the human ego. To understand why this specific thunderous dawn ritual happens every single day, without fail, we have to look back to the 8th century. We have to look to a figure who is as real to the Bhutanese today as the rocks beneath our feet, Guru Rinpoche. History tells us he was a mystic from the Swat Valley, but Bhutanese history, the history of the heart, tells us he flew into these valleys on the back of a flying tigress, bringing the esoteric, mystical teachings of Vajrayana Buddhism to a wild, untamed land. What is beautiful about this history is that Guru Rinpoche did not arrive to eradicate the local animist spirits of the rivers, the cliffs, and the dark forests. He did not destroy the old world to build a new one. Instead, the legends say he subjugated those wild spirits, converting them into fierce protectors of the new faith. That wild, ancient energy is what you hear right now in the clash of the symbols. It is a profound integration of nature and spirit. When you look at the vibrant Thangka paintings hanging from the ceiling, illuminated by the butter lamps, you see terrifying deities with fangs and wreathed in fire. What might surprise you is that these are not demons meant to harm. They are fierce protectors embodying an intense, radical compassion. Their wrath is directed entirely toward human ignorance, greed, and ego, designed to shock the mind awake when gentle teachings are not enough. Yet despite its deeply mystical origins, much of monastery life is beautifully ordinary. Becoming a monk in Bhutan isn't always a dramatic, thunderous calling from the heavens. For many families in the remote rural villages scattered across the valleys, sending a son to the monastery is an act of deep religious devotion, but it is also a practical blessing. It ensures the child receives a rigorous education, learns the classical scriptural language of Choeki, and gains a respected, secure place in society. The little boy who was chasing stray dogs and playing with sticks in the village yesterday is suddenly wearing the maroon robes of a novice. He has entered a lineage of scholars, philosophers, and meditators that stretches back over 1,000 years. He will learn to debate, to create intricate mandalas out of colored sand, and to read the stars. As the sun finally crests the eastern peaks, pouring a blinding, pure white light through the narrow, unglazed windows, the atmosphere in the prayer hall gently shifts. The intense, rumbling chants give way to a lighter, more conversational tone as the formal puja concludes. The monks stretch their stiff legs. The heavy silence of the night is broken. Laughter, bright, sudden, and entirely childlike, echoes in the courtyard outside as the young novices are released for their morning chores. You can hear the rhythmic scratching of long birch twig brooms sweeping the vast stone plazas. The solemnity of the dark gives way to the vibrant communal life of the day. Down in the valley below, a farmer steps out of his traditional rammed earth home to begin his day in the terraced rice fields. He hears the distant, fading sound of the monastery horn drifting down the mountain. He pauses. He does not need to be in the prayer hall to feel its effects. The monastery acts as a spiritual generator for the entire valley. The monks are not just praying for their own enlightenment, they are praying for the crops, for the safety of the travelers on the mountain passes, for the sick, and for the peace of all sentient beings. The ritual weaves an invisible web of care over the community. It tells the farmer that the world is in order, that the ancient promises are being kept. It is fascinating to consider how this tradition survives in a rapidly changing world. Bhutan is no longer a totally isolated hermit kingdom hidden from the globe. The young monks sweeping the courtyard often have smartphones tucked into their heavy maroon robes. Between ancient chants, they might text their families or scroll through photos from the capital city of Thimphu. A newly paved road winding up the mountain might bring supplies in hours that used to take a week to arrive by mule. Yet, when 4 o'clock in the morning strikes, the modern world falls away completely. The internet connection does not matter. The political news of the outside world does not matter. What matters is waking up. What matters is lighting the butter lamps so the darkness does not win. What matters is the chant. The survival of this dawn ritual isn't an act of stubborn, rigid resistance against the modern world. Rather, it is a necessary anchor. In a society that is slowly, carefully navigating the rushing currents of globalization, the monastery at dawn remains the quiet, unmoving center. It reminds the Bhutanese people of exactly who they are. It tells them that while everything in the material world is impermanent, a core, inescapable tenet of their Buddhist faith, the lineage of wisdom, compassion, and human discipline remains unbroken. They adapt to the new, but they do not let go of the true. As we leave the monks to their daily studies and step back out into the warming mountain sun, feeling the frost begin to melt beneath our boots, it is hard not to feel changed by the heavy, beautiful stillness we just witnessed. We do not need to be Bhutanese, or even Buddhist, to understand the deep human value of what happens here every morning. In a world that constantly demands our immediate attention, a world that so often measures our worth by our speed and our output, there is profound comfort in knowing that somewhere, high in the Himalayas, people are waking up in the freezing dark simply to keep the universe in balance. They are keeping a promise made by their ancestors. It is a quiet testament to our universal human need for continuity, for community, and for a sacred space to remember that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. The light of a single butter lamp may be incredibly small, but thousands of them, lit morning after morning, push back the dark. Thank you for walking through the cold mountain dawn with me today. If you found a sense of peace or curiosity in this journey, please consider leaving a like and subscribe to Culture Journey so we can continue exploring the beautiful, quiet corners of our world together. Share your thoughts in the comments. What part of the monk's morning resonated most deeply with you? Until our next journey, take care of yourself and keep stepping into the story.